Rockstar gang, what up, what up? Welcome back to yet another episode of the Rockstar Report. Appreciate everyone joining the live stream tonight. It's a late one. It's 9 o'clock, man. That's how, I've been going later as of late, but it's just kind of been how the schedule's been going for me. So we get it. We get it in where we fit in. You know what I mean? That's the saying as it goes. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Welcome in. Welcome in. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. Show some love to the channel. Show some love to the channel. Shout out to you guys, man. All right. Well, who we got in here? We got SC Panthers boy. We got Earl Locklear coming in. Hit that like button on the way in. We got Rodney Jow 723. What up, Clay? What up, Rodney? What is going on? Shout out to you guys, man. We got to talk about this, man. I had an interesting conversation about what the topic we're going to be talking about tonight. I had an interesting conversation over on X. Where most interesting Carolina Panthers conversation, come into play. About this whole thing. Dan Orlovsky, had his 2 cents in on it, of course. And then of course you had a lot of other people, but E-Money was good, man. No more playing against Garrett or Brown this year. Panthers are true winners. Crazy to think that we have a top 10, top 3 toughest schedule and 2 top 5, top 10 players. Could we all agree that AJ Brown's a top 10, top 5 wide receiver? And not to mention that Myles Garrett is definitely the best defensive player in the league. And both of those guys are off our schedule. Last that we have to deal with. It's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be interesting now going forward with that type of stuff. DJ Davis said, and Laughing Discos, 250 joules. Appreciate that, DJ. Not even sure what those are, but I appreciate you. Marcos Cash, what's up? Eric Blair, what's good? Appreciate you guys, man. Waiting on my jersey still, chat. Still waiting on my T-Mac jersey. We rocking the Undertaker tonight, though. If y'all know, of course, I watched the Clash at the Castle in Italy. You know what I mean? But we got the Undertaker on tonight, baby, because we might have to take some souls tonight. Shout out to everybody, man. It's going to be a good show. I appreciate everyone tuning in tonight. It's going to be a good show. Clash at the Castle. Yep, Clash in Italy. Exactly. Same thing. Clash at the Castle, Clash at Italy. Same thing. You know what I'm talking about, Austin. Same thing, same shit. Different place, different day. I actually I thought it was a decent pay-per-view. Not going to lie, Austin. I thought it was a decent pay-per-view. All right. Thought it was a decent pay-per-view. I wasn't truly impressed with it. It was okay. I think the Cody Rhodes ending should have been better. I thought it was a shitty ending, but that's Triple H for you. He can't commit to shit when it comes to him doing that type of stuff. Undertaker running AAA, though. I've heard a lot of people aren't liking the way Undertaker's running it. I don't watch AAA that much, to be honest with you, Austin, as much as I keep up with Raw and SmackDown and NXT. Not in any particular reason. I just don't keep up with it as much. So, all right, enough of the enough of the talks about wrestling. Enough talks about the wrestling. Let's get into what I really want to talk about tonight. And let me pull up the post first on X because I want to get it pulled up. By the way, no live stream tomorrow night, chat. I will be watching the Canes game over at a friend's house. We got the Stanley Cup, so I got to tune in. You know what I mean? I got to tune into that. I got to be focused in on that. All right, so I'm going to pull it up here. And let's get it up here. All right. Let me move this over here. This is why we have two screens, man. This is why we have two screens. Let me back that up just for a second. Okay. Pat McAfee, and of course, this was last week, chat. This was last week. All right. This was last week. And again, man, like the way I look at it is this. And this is why I said I get the concern, but Canales isn't giving up the offense. He's giving up the juggling at Idzik calls it. Canales makes the whole team. Bevell is the veteran that keeps the things grounded. All right, that's what I said. Now, if you watch this, you know what he said. Let's just listen to it real quick. We'll get a
couple playoff teams last year who have new play callers, different situations, obviously. Start with the Panthers. Dave Canales, the head coach, has been the play caller. He got that job because of being a play caller, and he is going to relinquish those duties. And then up in Seattle, obviously, Clint Kubiak goes to the Raiders. So Seattle no longer has him as the OC. They have a first-time OC play caller as well. What are your thoughts on those situations?
Don't like either of them. I would start with Carolina. I think if you're hired because of your play calling, you should not give up play calling. Agreed. I think Canales is good as a play caller. It's, this game, it's probably, if we're being honest, that's probably a $150 million loss. I think if Bryce Young and them beat the Rams, he would have gotten an extension this offseason. I'm not saying they didn't because of him. He played great in that game, but I just believe the optics of that upset. He's probably under top 5 pressure quarterback-wise in the NFL, and so going into this season. And so I don't like the fact that Coach Canales has given up the play calling. I believe their new offensive coordinator, Brad Idzik, as to my knowledge, has never called plays. For me, I don't understand how that happens. I know at some point everyone has to call their plays for the first time. I don't know if it should be with a quarterback that's having, an enormous year on top of his shoulders. I think Carolina is going to be good up front offensively. It'll really be about their really secondary and third option pass catchers. Tet was obviously very good. Does Coker take a step forward? Xavier Legette, they draft Brazel out of Tennessee. Sanders is a good tight end. But it's. I don't like the fact that the head coach and the play caller has given up the play calling duties with such a big year on tap.
Okay. So we heard that, and this is what I said. And if you know C3 podcast, of course, you got Cody and a bunch of people actually commented on this and actually got some decent views. But it got a lot of decent conversation from it. And so I think we need to address this because here is my assumption, I guess you can say, or whatever you want to call it, right? Like, I get that this is a bold move by Dave Canales, okay? Whether people like it or not, but it has turned this season for Bryce Young into a full-blown pressure cooker. Not like it wasn't already, though. Let's be honest, all right? Not like this is not a little microwave situation. This is a real pressure cooker situation. It already was. We're in year 4. What are we talking about? But this is also kind of where that one wrong button and the whole kitchen just starts looking like a fucking crime scene, okay? And the offseason, Canales decided to hand over offensive play calling way back, right? Months before, I think even Dan Orlovsky said anything to this, right? To Brad Idzik. So the idea of this is pretty simple because Canales wants to take more of that CEO, what I like to call the CEO style role as a head coach, which is focus on the entire team as a whole, manage the game better, let Idzik handle the offensive calls on Sunday. So on paper, I get it. In theory, it makes sense. in reality, I understand that it also is risky as hell because this is not just some random year where the Panthers are rebuilding, trying to figure things out, playing with house money. This is 2026. This is year 4 for Bryce Young, right? You're coming off an NFC South title. You just made the playoffs for the first time in years. The long-term quarterback conversation is still sitting there on the table. And the way I like to compare it is that contract is sitting there waiting for Bryce Young to prove that he's the guy, like a bill at a steakhouse nobody wants to look at yet. And you all, if you ever eaten at an expensive steakhouse, you know what I'm talking about. You had a couple of old fashions, got yourself a nice little ribeye, some loaded mashed potatoes, and a Caesar salad. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You know what steakhouse I'm talking about. But if Bryce takes that next step, ladies and gentlemen, the extension conversation gets very real. It gets very real. Right? And here's another thing. If he doesn't, things get very uncomfortable very fast, right? And that's why I think Dan Orlovsky criticism of this play calling switch is worth talking about, even if some of you Panthers fans didn't love hearing it. Like, here's the thing. Dan Orlovsky has a point. Even if Panthers fans don't want to admit it, and I'm one of them that didn't want to admit it, but Dan Orlovsky, going on the Pat McAfee show, he obviously made it clear he doesn't love the move. We just listened to it. What he's basically arguing, and I want to make this clear for some of you that might not understand what he's arguing here. He's arguing if Dave Canales was hired because he is an offensive-minded coach and his playmaking ability, which he basically was, let's call a spade, why does he give that up now? Especially when Bryce Young is entering arguably the biggest season of his career. It's not a crazy take. I will say this, though. Orlovsky also pointed out that Brad Idzik has never called plays as a regular season NFL game. We all know that as well. So, yes, Idzik called plays during the preseason in his time last offseason. But we know that the difference between calling plays in preseason and the regular season are not the same animal, okay? It's just not. You know, that's like saying, hey, man, I'm ready to fight a bear because you beat up a teddy bear at Walmart. That's what that's what I'd like to compare it to, right? I mean, regular season NFL play calling is different, bro. See, you're on the road. Let me set the scene for you guys, all right? Let me set the scene. It's 3rd and 7 on the road. Crowd noise, right? It's 2-minute drill in the red zone. It's trying to outthink that defensive coordinator who are paid millions of dollars to ruin your Sunday. It's not just picking a play and hoping for the best. So Orlovsky basically said that everyone has to call plays for the first time eventually, which is also true. But he questioned whether that first time should have come with a quarterback who is entering a massive career-defining year. And it's hard for me to argue that because it is fair. I do have a little bit of a pushback, though, and I'm going to get to that. This does mean Orlovsky hates – this doesn't – I think a lot of people think Dan Orlovsky hates the Carolina Panthers. I'm not so sure that's true or not. But but it does not mean he's rooting against Bryce. I don't think that it does not mean, national media hates Carolina every time somebody says something like, it means that there's a legit risk here. I do believe that. I get the concern. It's just like I said in my tweet. But the Canales side of this also makes sense. So here's my pushback, right? So with all of that being said, right, I also understand why Canales is doing this. Canales has said giving up play calling was extremely difficult for him because he genuinely enjoys that part of his job, right? We all remember that interview. I think it was at the NFL Combine or whatever it was. I think it was the Combine. And he because he likes building the plans. He watching it unfold on Sundays, right? Watching his plan come together, right? Making those high stake calls in the big moments. So this clearly, to me, was not some lazy, don't feel like this anymore type of decision, right? I do think that this was a deliberate move because Canales believes the Panthers operation, which I said in my short, if you saw my short on this and you listened to it, and I said, I do believe that Canales believes that this team can operate more efficiently if he is not buried in the play calling sheet every week. And so instead of being locked into every offensive call, he can manage the entire team better. Offense, defense, special teams, game flow, clock management, situational football, all of it. Because that does matter too, right? Head coaches have a lot on their plate, right? So I'll say this. Sometimes being the play caller and the head coach can turn into trying to cook dinner, answer emails, fix the Wi-Fi, put out a kitchen fire at the same time. I've been there, okay? Done that, all right? So eventually something's getting burned, which is true. So Canales is trying to avoid that, so to speak, right? And I truly believe that if he truly believes Brad Idzik is ready, then he has to trust him, right? Canales and Idzik have been together for a while. Idzik knows the offense. He knows Bryce. He knows the terminology. He knows what Canales wants in this system to look like. He knows all that. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. I appreciate everyone showing all that love and support. Shout out to you guys, man. Shout out to you guys. Let me see. I didn't get to some of the people in here earlier. Shout out to Rock Jones. Who gives a damn what ESPN says about us? They're always hating on Carolina. Shout out to Rock Jones. The one and only Ken88 comes in and says Brad Idzik will do a good job. Shout out to Ken88 coming through. Antonio McClellanham. Appreciate you. Like, subscribe, comment, share the stream. What's good, my guy? I appreciate you. Marcos Cash is in here. Charlie, good Monday, Clay and chat. What's good, Charlie? Who else is in here? Did I miss someone? What's up, Kid Flash? I appreciate you coming through, my guy. Process blue nail polish. Not my thing, man. Not my thing. So, again, Carolina also, let's not forget Darryl Bevell, associate head coach, which is going to be is a big piece of this. Bevell brings a ton of experience and gives the Panthers another voice in that room. That should help with the whole transition, in my opinion. The weekly game plan, the overall structure of the offense. So, no, this is not just Brad Idzik being thrown into the deep with a fucking pool noodle, okay? He's not getting thrown to the sharks, okay? There is support around him. But still, when Sunday hits and the headset on, he does have to make the calls. And that is where we find out if this was smart or if the Panthers overthought the room, right? And here's the thing. Let's not forget, we also improved, but the offense still has plenty to prove, right? We improved, but this offense still has plenty to prove, right? Here is the part that I think people get lost in this conversation right here, is that our offense wasn't exactly, hasn't been exactly the greatest show on turf under Dave Canales. All right, we ranked for 2024 and 2025. we ranked around the same. We were a bottom tier offense. We ranked around 27th in yards and points last year or something like that, right? So, I mean, again, it wasn't like we were lighting up the scoreboard week in and week out, right? I mean, we made some real progress as a team, no doubt about that, right? Let's not forget, Canales inherited, all right? And I'm going to lay this out for you guys. Canales inherited a 2-15 disaster. In year one, he improved to 5 wins. Then last season, we jumped to 8-9. And let's not forget, we were 0-2 last year. We overcame an 0-2 start and finished 8-9. Won the NFC South and got back to the playoffs. That is real progress. You did not just accidentally go from league punchline to a division champ. See, I think a lot of people forget that. Canales inherited a 2-15 team, right? In year one. Okay? Canales inherited a 2-15 disaster, and then in year one improved to 5 wins. Jumped to 8-9 last year after starting 0-2, and you still won the NFC South, and we got back to the playoffs. You just don't accidentally do that, okay? Dan Morgan also has done a strong job of continuing to rebuild this roster on both sides of the ball, especially after putting a major focus on fixing this defense. But again, let's not forget, those numbers were still not great. I just looked them up here, right? The offensively were not great. In 2024, we ranked 29th in yards per game and then 23rd in points per game. So in 2025, we ranked 27th in yards per game. That improved, but our points was 27th points per game. It's just not enough. Like, that is not, we're almost elite territory. That is what I would like to, let me come up with something here. That is, the Wi-Fi is technically connected, but the video is still buffering every 8 seconds type of territory. Right? So while Canales giving up play calling is risky, let's not act like we were rolling out a top 5 offense and suddenly decide to mess with some type of perfection, right? We need more juice. We need more explosive. We need better balance. They need more consistency. We need more consistency. Again, it wasn't like we were the best 2020, 24, and 2025. This wasn't the offense like the best show on turf. Again, I just went through the rankings. I mean, good Lord. If this offense was still near the bottom of the league in yards and points, then tweaking the operation is not crazy. And at some point, you have to ask whether the old setup was helping enough. Kid Flash, make sure you tune in, man. I actually have a video coming out about Jimmy Horn. Make sure you tune in. Charlie says somebody in the offense will need to make a jump. I'm looking at Brooks. Man, after that video I saw today about Jonathan Brooks, if that explosiveness is real and it stays consistent, and 2020 and 25 can stay healthy, which when I say 25, Jonathan Brooks, this offense is going to even be way more dangerous. Way more dangerous with Jonathan Brooks in that lineup. It's going to be dangerous already with the wide receiver core, in my opinion. But if Brooks can stay healthy, man, and he can be 60, 70% of what he was at Texas, shut it down, bro. This offense is going to hit a whole different gear. Oh, I'm trying not to, man, Charlie, but I'm such a Jonathan Brooks fan that I want it to work out so badly. You know, I want it to work out so badly, and I think it can. It's just, man, but just the little bit of flashes I've seen, man, the explosiveness, the way he's getting out of his, out of his holes, and just the movement, the shiftiness, the hip movement, the footwork, the patience of finding that hole. Like, just some of the videos I've seen, it's just, I'm just telling you, man, if that explosiveness looks real, but if he can stay healthy and show that type of explosiveness consistently, this Panthers offense can hit a whole different gear, because you can get way more creative in that backfield, and in the pass game with him. So I'm just saying. But let's continue here, because I do want to be clear on this. Bryce Young is the main character in all of this. No matter how you feel about Canales, no matter how you feel about Idzik, no matter how you feel about Orlovsky, Bevell, or the play calling debate, the biggest name in this whole conversation is Bryce Young. This season is obviously massive for him, right? We know that. Young is entering year 4. He's already gone through a brutal start to his career, a benching, major criticism, questions about whether he could be the long-term guy, but he also has shown real growth, especially after getting his job back, right? And then last season, he hits these career highs across the board. He helped lead this team to a division title. And so all of that stuff matters for sure, right? I don't think we win the NFC South title last year without Bryce, right? Especially when he was playing better football. I don't think we win that. I mean, we saw Andy Dalton against the Buffalo Bills. I mean, I don't think Andy Dalton could have done consistently better than Bryce at all, not even close. So we did not win the NFC South title without Bryce playing better football last year. I do want to make that clear. Okay. But just now, I continue to tell you guys, the expectations are different. It is no longer enough for Bryce to simply just look better than he did as a rookie. Right? It is no longer enough to say, hey, at least he survived. That stage is over, bro. That is over with. He has to prove he is the franchise quarterback. That means he has to be more consistent, more explosive plays, more command of the offense. And I think the video we saw of him saying, with the cursing and really honing in on as the quarterback and being a leader of that offense, right? I think he knows how big this year is for him. And that's why I think we're seeing that type of video out there, him trying to take more command of the offense. And I think that's great, right? Better situational football with him as well. Better answers against pressure. I need to see that. More production, more games where he looks like the reason Carolina won, right? That's what I want to see. I want to see him go out there and win games because of Bryce Young, not because, Bryce Young threw to because, I don't want him to be just a game manager every time. I do. I want more games where he looks like the reason we won that game, not just the guy who avoided being the reason we lost. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? So again, Orlovsky even said that if Bryce had beaten the Rams in the playoffs, he might have already gotten an extension this offseason. Whether you agree with that or not, it shows how close this conversation really is. Because the Panthers are just not evaluating if Bryce can play. We all know what they're evaluating. They're evaluating whether Bryce is worth that big quarterback money, right? And that big quarterback money in today's NFL is not just some small Venmo request, all right? Speaking of Venmo, if you want to donate to the channel, My Cash App and Venmo are down in the description of this live stream. Okay. That is, but again, that is that type of money, that is the change the entire salary cap structure of your franchise type money when it comes to that, right? So, yes, this season is huge, right? Facts, because let's win because of Bryce, not in spite of him. Exactly. What up, broski? No more 105 passing yard, 2 touchdowns, no turnover games. Yeah. Again, I need to see from Bryce, like I said, I need to see Bryce win more games because of Bryce, not because he avoided being the reason we lost. Right? And again, I want to go back to something with Canales. T. Cole, what's good, man? Broski Bear comes in and says, smash that like, subscribe, share, support. Yep. Yeah, let's get them likes up. Where are we at on them likes, my guys? Where are we at on them likes? I'm feeling good tonight, man. I went to the gym. Me and the wife went to the gym, hit some upper body today. Had a nice 45-minute hit workout, upper body. Absolutely crushed it. We got 37 people watching, 33 likes. We got some people already. Here's the thing. The poll question is, can we get this live stream to 100 plus likes? That's the goal every single time we're here. All right. We do have a live chat goal today. If we hit 20 Teal super chats, I will do another giveaway. We already done a hat giveaway. We've already done a jersey giveaway. I will do more of those giveaways if we can hit the 20 Teal super chats and 100 likes. I'll do another hat and jersey giveaway if we get this live stream to 100 likes and 20 super chats. All right. 20 Teal super chats. All right. Listen, you support me, I give back to my people. All right. Even if you don't get the 20 super chats, it's okay. You hit the 100 likes, we'll do another hat giveaway. T. Cole, what's good? Loud Pack, keep pounding. Good luck. Hurricanes, definitely going to be watching that tomorrow night, my guy. Smash that like button if you want to see Caleb wear processed blue nail polish week 1. That would be great. I leave my like at the door before I touch the chat. I feel you, Charlie. I feel you. Wipe your feet off, my friend. Wipe your feet off. We don't want any dirt to come in. You know what I mean, Charlie? We don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. All right. So I want to dive into this a little bit more. Staying on topic. We're staying on the same topic here. All right. If this works, right? Canales looks like a genius. Here is the upside of all of this, ladies and gentlemen. If Brad Idzik comes in and this offense approves, Canales is going to look very smart. Because if this team looks more explosive, right, we stay balanced, Bryce gets into this rhythm, they're protecting him, they avoid those weird offensive droughts, right? This move could end up being one of the best decisions Canales has ever made. Because then Canales gets to be the full head coach, right? He gets to manage the game. He gets to stay connected with the defense. He gets to oversee special teams. He gets to handle situational football better. And he still has his fingerprints on that offense without having to personally call every play. That is what would be ideal. It'll also make this team harder to prepare for early in the season because opposing defense do not have a ton of regular season Idzik play calling tendencies to study, right? Let's think about that. Again, opposing defenses do not have film on Brad Idzik play calling. Got to think about that. Sure, they might know the system. Sure. They know the general structure, but they do not fully know how Idzik will call a game when it actually counts, right? And now with the whole Darrell Bell thing, the play calling design, the play call design could be totally different, right? So the unpredictability could actually help us in the long run, at least early in the season. So again, for Bryce, a fresh voice on game day might help, right? Dave Canales is still going to be there for someone to talk to. You're still going to have Darrell Bell. You're going to have Brad Idzik. You're going to have all these guys, man. And maybe Idzik sees things differently. Maybe he attacks more. Oh, and I forgot to mention, you still got the pass game coordinator there, who they moved up, who Bryce Young improved under, right? Which is, let me look up his name real quick. Well, you got Will Harriger, but the offensive pass game coordinator, Mike Berkovici, who they moved up to that, who Bryce Young improved under as well. All right. So maybe, right? Maybe he stays more aggressive. Maybe he attacks more, like I said. Maybe we see things differently with Brad Idzik. Maybe he commits more to what Bryce Young does well instead of just getting stuck in conversation strips. That is the version of this where this Panthers offense finally looks modern and balanced and dangerous. That is the dream. I see someone hitting the hearts in the chat. I appreciate you guys. If you can hit those hearts the way you are in the chat, do the same thing on that like button. All right. And I'll throw some hearts back at you. All right. I'll throw some hearts back at you. So that would be the dream scenario. But I'll be honest with you. If this fails, the finger pointing is going to be loud. Now, here is the downside of it. If we come out flat offensively, which you know how I feel about that, this conversation is going to get ugly fast, chat. If this offense struggles in September, you guys are going to be coming on this show and immediately going to be asking why Canales gave up play calling. And I'll be probably looking at you back and saying, I don't know. Because I don't. I don't have an answer for why he actually did it. Right? But if Bryce looks uncomfortable, people are going to be asking us why'd they change the setup in the biggest year of his career, right? If Idzik has rough moments, everyone's going to be pointing back to the fact that he never called plays in a regular season game before, right? That is just how this works. Nobody cares about the process when the scoreboard looks like a sad tax return. And that is the danger here. And I said it's a risk. But again, if this does go sideways, it does not hurt Canales. It does not just hurt Canales or Idzik. It could hurt Bryce Young's money. It could hurt our momentum. It could turn a season with all this optimism into another exhausting Carolina debate show, which we've seen all over YouTube consistently anyways. But it's just going to even be a more debate. That is why Orlovsky concern is valid. That's what I'm saying. The Panthers are taking a swing at this exact moment when Bryce Young needs stability and clarity. So, to be fair, Canales probably does not make this move unless he has completely confidence in Brad Idzik, like I said earlier. I think Canales knows what is at stake. He knows Bryce's future is tied to all of this. He knows this team is trying to build off a division title. Not reset the entire operation, but confidence and results are not the same thing, right? So we have to still prove that it works, that this works. Now, The run game, I think another thing tied into this is the run game has to come back. One major thing that could help Bryce Young and Brad Idzik is pretty simple. The run game. Okay. Our run game started strong in 2025, especially with Rico Dowdle leading that charge, right? Through the first 9 games, the Panthers ran the ball, I mean, at least, 25 times in 8 of those games, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember a sustained statistic that sticks in my head for some reason. But we were averaging over like 130 something yards per game. So, and that was winning football. That was very well balanced, and that's how you protect your quarterback. We were able to control the tempo. It kept defenses honest as well. But again, over those final 9 games, including the playoff loss to the Rams, the run game just kind of fell off hard, right? Carolina averaged just like 80. It was like 80 plus rushing yards. It might have been like 89, 88, something like that. And I think we only hit like 100 plus rushing yards 3 times, I think, during that whole stretch, if I'm not mistaken. It was like 3 or 4 times. So again, that can't happen again, because if we want Bryce to really take that leap, again, they cannot ask him to carry this offense every single week. Like, you can't ask him to do that, right? You got to help the man out, run the ball, stay balanced, keep the offense on schedule, make 2nd and 5 a regular thing instead of living in 3rd and long. I was pounding the table on the 3rd and long situations. And a better thing is a better run game would make Brad Idzik's job easier, right? Bryce's job easier. The entire offense is going to be more efficient, right? Let me get to some of these comments real quick. Great show tonight, by the way. I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Let me see here. Dave Canales calling sus, especially with an early bye. Yep. Panthers went 8-2, rushing for 125 yards plus last year. See? So when this team runs 125 plus yards, we win football games. Okay. Is Tet him? Yes. Tet is him. Yes. Tet is him. I predict Tet will have over 1,300 yards. Will have around 1,300 yards this year. I see a big year for Tet. Actually, I don't think he likes to be called Tet Kid Flash. I think he likes to just be called T-Mac, or you call him by his first name, Ted Earl McMillan. Or Nalo. I think that was another one. I don't think he likes Tet. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. The only thing I'm worried about is whether Nick Scott is starting. We'll find out. Black man drop top. We will find out. That's a good question, though. Or not. That's a good worry, I guess you could say. Not necessarily a good one, but it's. I get it. Absolutely the only sure thing on this offense right now. He belongs in Southern Cal, not Chicago. Appreciate that. This is Dave Canales unhitching his wagon from Bryce. Taking the training wheels off. Yes, sir. He said, oh, really? I did not know that, Marcos. Marcos coming in with the facts. Saying, interesting. Did not know that. That's pretty cool. Not cool, but you know what I mean. Doesn't mean something good, though. All right, let's continue. I got one more thing to say about this whole thing, and then I'll give you my final take on all of this and stuff like that. Then I got one more thing I want to talk about tonight as well. Another thing along with this is that the offensive line is a big question, but maybe not a disaster, right? That is going to be another storyline into this, is this offensive line. Because in 2025, the Panthers dealt with ridiculous amount of offensive line injuries. They had 12 different starting combinations last season, right? That kind of chaos is not ideal for any quarterback, especially one still trying to grow into the franchise role. So going into 2026, there are more changes up front. Now, if Ike Ekwonu's, so again, we got to think about this injury with Ike Ekwonu too. We probably likely will have a new starting left tackle by week 1. It sounds like it's going to be Rasheed Walker, right? As of right now, but it is going to be between Rasheed Walker and Momo Freely. But as of right now, it sounds like Rasheed Walker's leading the way. Then at center, with K. May's departure, now you have Luke Fortner. Sam Hatch is also expected to compete there. So yes, there is some concerns though for me with the offensive line. Now it's not as much as it is depth, the talent. It's more about the continuity, right? And I think that is fair because offensive line need chemistry. So the quarterback center relationship matters, right? The communication matters. So the pass protection rules matter. You cannot have 5 guys playing like they just met in the parking lot before kickoff. Like, hey, man, nice to meet you. I'm the center, right? You can't have them like the replacements coming out there. You know what I mean? But also, I think the concern can be a little overblown. Continuity is great, but performance matters more. Like if the new guys are better, healthier, more reliable, then the offensive line can improve even with new faces, right? Nobody cares if 5 linemen have been together for years, if they are getting Bryce hit like he owes them, money. So the best thing is simple, right? You got to protect the quarterback. The communication has to be well. And please, for the love of everything that is holy, don't step on Bryce Young's foot. And if you know what I'm talking about. If you know what I'm talking about. That shit last year. But that should be rule number 1 in the offensive line room. Put it on a poster in that offensive line room. All right. Put it in a poster on that in that locker room. But Carolina gave Bryce Young more help. That is the thing. We have also continued adding those pieces around Bryce. Tedero McMillan is coming off the offensive rookie of the year. You got Xavier Legette, Jalen Coker still part of this receiving room. Can Xavier Legette take us? Can he finally step up a little bit? Jalen Coker, is he going to take a major step forward? We also added the speedster and wide receiver Chris Brazel in the 3rd round. That does give Bryce Young that more interesting group of weapons. Can someone in this tie room step up, right, and be a consistent, reliable pass catcher over the middle, open up the middle of the field for Bryce, right, from the tight end standpoint, right? Is Jonathan Brooks, can he continue to show this explosiveness, be consistent and stay healthy and be on the field, right? You got some interesting group of weapons here that can really shine. This is a really good chance for these guys to shine, right? I don't think everything has to be perfect, right? But this is still not some loaded offense where you just roll the ball out ball out and score 30 every week, right? Because the talent is improving, but the support system is better, right? The roster is not as nearly as broken as it was when Bryce first got here, right? But that is why the excuses are shrinking now. Early in Bryce's career, you could point to the coaching chaos with Frank Wright, right? The lack of weapons, the offensive line issues, the overall dysfunction that was going on. We all know that, right? We don't need to bring it up like PTSD. A lot of that was real. But we have a head coach entering year 3. We have a front office that has made some real roster improvements. You have better weapons. You have a plan, obviously. You have a division title to build off of. So at some point, right? At some point, the quarterback has to elevate, right? That time has to be now. Because here's the reality of the situation. And here is where I land on the whole thing, Okay. I know I went through a lot tonight. I appreciate everyone that's been in here and has stuck around for the show. I hope you enjoyed tonight's live stream. But here's where I land on the whole thing. Dan Orlovsky is not wrong for questioning this move. Dave Canales is not crazy for making this move. Brad Idzik is not automatically doomed because he has not called a regular season plays before. And Bryce Young is not automatically saved or screwed because of this decision. The truth is somewhere in the middle, right? Which is usually where the boring and honest answers live, right? This could work. It could also blow up. That is why it makes such a fascinating gamble. Like, if this offense improves, Canales is going to get all this credit for knowing when to delegate. That was my thing, right? Idzik will get the credit for bringing this new energy and life in this offense, right? And Bryce is going to get this credit for taking that leap, and we'll look like a team that actually knows what it's building. So, again, if it fails, the decision will drag every single week. That is just the reality, right? We are no longer, ladies and gentlemen, in this cute rebuilding story. We're not. We won the NFC South. We made the playoffs. That is the expectations now. Bryce Young is no longer just proving he belongs in the league. He's now proving he's worth building around for the long term. It's just a different level of pressure. So, yes, Canales handing play calling to Idzik, I do think is a gamble. Okay? But if maybe it unlocks this offense, maybe it gives Bryce that boost he needs, right? Maybe it helps Canales become a better head coach overall. But if this thing starts out slow, man, you guys are going to be questioning everything, right? Because in 2026, this is a season that is not just about whether we can repeat as the NFC South champions. All right. It is about Bryce Young. Can he become the long-term face of the franchise? And whether this offense is set up helps him get there or makes the climb even, or then it, again, or it's going to make the climb even steeper. So that is my thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. That is my thoughts on this whole ordeal. It was a great conversation on X, by the way. A lot of people were commenting on that post. Let me get to some comments real quick. Guys, do me a favor. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. I appreciate that. Continue to show all the love and support. I greatly appreciate it. Shout out to everybody who's continues to show all that love and support. Appreciate you guys, man. All right. Oh, God. Now we're in here talking about Caleb Williams and Bryce Young. Here we go. It's already starting, man. We haven't even gotten into the training camp yet. Let's see this. I'm just saying it now, Clay. If Bryce looks straight up bad through the first 4 weeks, he's not starting after the bye week. I'm giving Bryce Young the first 6 weeks. I'm giving him the first 6 weeks, and that's all I'm giving him. I'm giving him the first 6 weeks of the season. If we're 3-3, great. If we're 1-5, we're gonna have questions. I can handle 3-3, but if we're like 1-5 or 2-4, yeah, I'm gonna have a lot of questions. I'll take 3-3 after the bye, or 3-3 by week 6. But if we're 4-2 or 5-1, I'm not gonna really have much questions. We're gonna know. But by week 6, I think we're truly gonna know. I honestly will probably know within the first 3 weeks. But I'll give it a week 6. And that's me just being generous. So, shout out to everybody in the chat, man. I appreciate you guys, man. Let's get this live stream up to 100 likes. If you do that, I'll do another hat giveaway. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. I will not be live tomorrow because I'm going to be watching the Canes in the Stanley Cup. So hopefully you guys tune into that game tomorrow night. Make sure you do, 8 p.m. You know what time it is at. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Appreciate all the love and support y'all continue to show me and come through here. A lot of NFL news today, by the way. A lot of NFL news. So if you didn't tune in, well, and you missed it, I got plenty of shorts of all the news that came out today. So make sure you go check that out. Other than that, guys, love y'all. Be safe. And as always, keep pounding. Peace.